I went with Nick Pope again and I should have known better. Burnley clean sheets are as much of a myth as my sex life right now, and there was a painful inevitability that a Stoke goal was coming. I decided against the Burnley defensive double-up as I put Matt Lowton on the bench. Although maybe I should have started him, seeing as Joe Gomez and Shkodran Mustafi combined for the same amount as the Burnley full-back. We did however pick an FPL Hall of Famer in Leighton Baines, who came up big for us with 8 PTS. To be fair, Newcastle looked less likely to score than Ian Dowie and Nunnery, but a clean and 2 bonus points are never going to be scoffed at by me. In midfield we captained that man Mo, and well, obviously he scored. It was a little nervy for a while, but his 14 PTS were a big relief. Alongside him we had a blank from Wilf Zaha on Saturday, but good returns from Sunday's games. Marko Arnautovic scored against Arsenal, whilst Raheem Sterling continued his ridiculous season with an 11-pointer. It was his 9th double-figure return this season. To put that in perspective, Harry Kane has 8, Eden Hazard 6, Sergio Aguero 5 and Christian Eriksen 4. To be honest, the list could go on all day, seeing as Mo Salah is the only player with more. Up top it was a real mixed bag. Thanks to a pretty honest Arsene Wenger midweek press conference, we changed from Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang to Alexander Lacazette, and it paid off in a massive way. Although it had looked a little bleak for the first 80 minutes. That was until Arsenal scored 3 times in the final 10 minutes, with the Frenchman scoring 2 of them. His 13 PT salvo should have been matched by Gabriel Jesus, but his wanky penalty was saved and he ended up on 7 PTS thanks to a very late goal. Last up was Otto Ceballos Perez. He came in for the non-playing Leroy Sane and scored 2 PTS. Which actually worked out well as it helped Baines' total. So with the last blank game week of 17/18 in the books, we need to see how our team looks now it's reverted back to its previous state. One thing I can say for sure is it lacks a serious amount of Egyptianness. And yes, that's definitely a word. Aside from that, I'm actually pretty happy with the lineup and I've decided against any transfers. This will then give us 2 free next week, which, given that it's a big double game week, should be far more beneficial. David De Gea gets the nod between the sticks. With this game sandwiched between both Europa semis for Arsenal, I expect them to put out a half-strength team. United are hard enough to score against at the best of times, so I think De Gea is a better bet than Nick Pope, who faces a Brighton team fighting for survival. At the back we do go with Matt Lowton however. Not that I think he's guaranteed points, but I think there's more chance of him scoring them than either of our benched defenders. He lines up next to Andreas Christensen and Jan Vertonghen. Bizarrely, after all the mid-season plaudits Christensen received from FPL fans alike, he has now scored just 18 PTS over the last 14 GWs. I really don't want to own him right now, but taking him out feels a wasted transfer given that he has a DGW coming up. Vertonghen has now gone 5 games in a row scoring 2 PTS or less. Watford at home looks the best chance to rectify that. Talking of Spurs v Watford, we have Heung-min Son in our midfield. 2 assists in his last 4 isn't horrific form, but we could really do with a little more from him. He has the potential to explode in games, and with MNF at Wembley I have a good feeling about him this week. Paul Pogba is next up, and he should thrive against an Arsenal midfield that will obviously allow him time and space. I guess it just depends which Pogba turns up. Our last 2 have away games against teams fighting for survival, so although they look good on paper, they may be a little more challenging than we'd like. Willian didn't feature against Burnley given that he was being rested for the Cup semi-final, but I fully expect him to return this week. Riyad Mahrez has Crystal Palace, and this one is tough to call. It could be 0-0 as easily as it could be 3-3. So let's hope for the latter. Not that it seems to matter to Mahrez, who I'm pretty sure decided his summer holiday started in April this year. No returns for 4 GWs, he's playing like he's thinking about the beach and his inevitable summer transfer. Ironically, he's the likely candidate for a transfer out for us next week, even though Leicester do have a DGW. Our front 3'll have decent home games, and I'd be disappointed if we didn't see some healthy point hauls. Ashley Barnes has returned to form with 2 in his last 2 after a couple blanks. That's now 6 goals in his last 8. Not a high ceiling when it comes to point scoring, but consistent as a bargain. Romelu Lukaku will be looking to add to his 16 league goals so far at home to Arsenal. Watching Arsenal's centre-halves defend this season, one think Rom could dominate here. I'd be stunned if he didn't pop up on the score sheet this week. Last up is Harry Kane. I think we can all agree he has rushed himself back and looks a long way from his free-scoring injury-free form. But I have to admit that I just don't have the bollocks to run without him. 4 very favorable fixtures to finish the season, 3 of which are home. I just can't bear the thought of going without. Especially as he's a leading shout for our triple captaincy next week. A lot will depend on this week though. A Watford team with nothing to play for can hopefully be the remedy. So the lineup is set, we've banked the transfers and we are setting our sights heavily on a top 10k finish. As always, we have the captaincy poll set up below, so all votes are greatly appreciated. You guys have been top class selecting our captain each week this season, so in a week where we have 2 or 3 genuine candidates, your help will be good. Thanks for reading and good luck all. Fingers crossed for some green arrows come Tuesday morning. Written by FPL Guru, at FPL_Guru.